tire upper surface, or we will place on the thread compounds. So I will show you how actually does it work. So you can see first of all, then I will let you know how actually it works. So the injector will inject on the tire. The temperature of the tire will get the infrared sensor, which high temperature is or low temperature is minus 30 to 120 degrees Celsius, and the movement of the road, which will calculated with by the optical sensor, is high frequency of 10 gigahertz. Now, as you can see, for each and every materials or viscosity material, there are 4 transitions. The first transition is classic state, the second is viscosity state, and the second is rubber state. There is a viscous flow. And you can see on this line, the below the figure, when the indenter will indent on the tire, there are high displacement. At a certain time, we will see there the increasing time, and they are decreasing the temperature. It will show they are deforming or they are distributing the temperature on the tires. So as you can see there, the last right corner image, this is there are losses due to the deformation of the tires. So here is the support weight. So we have already talked about that. This is our second things we have done. So this is the CAD model which I have developed on the SolidWorks, or we can develop on the any types of softwares, the CAD softwares. These are the prototypes, and this is the attachment of the support. So I will show you. There is a question in your mind, and everyone, there is also a question, why we need the necessity of the support base. So as you can see, there are 2 types of tires. The first is threaded tires, and the second one is even tires, like there are no any thread. So when we are placing the V-shaped device on the tires, the connection between tires and the uneven pattern, there are tire, the hemispherical spherical indenter will indent on the tire, and it will connect the properly. But in case of thread pattern, when we are placing the V-shape, there are some slopy types, so it can't be placed properly. So we will develop a support base to make a proper connection with the tires. So there are also 2 types of thread pattern tires, and we will get both the result with support base and without support. And the middle one, as you can see, this tire is an even pattern, but we are using for these tires also. We will make a support base, because these tires, the tire is a spherical tire. So we will develop a support base to below the support is to have it spherical, and the upper of the support is like plate type to attach on the V-shaped device. So now these are the result I can see. This is AVI. We have already discussed about the AVI. AVI is addition viscous candidate. So I have taken a standard AVI. So this C1, C2, C3, C4 is the place I have taken on the tire center. C1, C2, and also. So as you can see, the most cases the support base is really impact on the roll. As you can see, this is the lower than the higher, without support. That means the proper composition with a variabilization on the tire. So this is the really impact on the rolls, on the tires. So in the case of hysteresis, as you can see, this is a hysteresis viscous inertia in the 3 cases, and also you can see there I have taken the 10 centers, 10 position, and the tire centers. So in this case, there are some low loss factors inside the when they are deformation on the tires. So these are the results. So after that, I have also taken some specimen of the tires to take destructive testing, because we have already tested on the product. So now I am testing on the 2 types of batches. The first batch is the 5 leather, and the second batch is 3 leathers. And using this formula, I have taken final length or initial length upon the final length, and we will stretch the specimen up to 10%. So this is the workbench I have taken, and I will increase the initial when I get to the test zone. I have put the leather on the test zone, and I increase the strain. So here I have taken the 5 specimen, and this sustain like 120 degrees sustain. That means we have heat up to 120 degrees Celsius for the 4 hours. Then we will check what are the difference before the strain and after the strain. So here I can see in the results, the lower storage modulus is ABB bovino, and you can see the higher storage modulus is bicast bovino. That means the stiffer is higher stiffer is the bicast bovino, and the lower stiffer is ABB bovino. So I will increase the strain up to 1%, and I'm also increasing the strain up to 10%. So what we will see in the 10%, we will see the higher storage modulus didn't change. That means the higher stiffer is the y-cast to Veno, and the lower is, that means the lowest effort. We change initial was ABB to Veno, and now this is the mechanical condition, and the loss factor. This is the as you can see, the y-cast to Veno is also a higher loss factor. That means the energy dissipation is high, and for the ABB or Veno there is a low dissipation. That means the energy loss is low. So as you can also see, I have taken both of the specimen. When we are increasing the storage modulus as compared to the decreasing of the loss factors. And in case of also past activity, when we are increasing the storage modulus and we are decreasing the loss factor, that means the result will say, if we are stretching the materials, there are some loss energy due to the deformation, so the energy dissipation is low. So in case I am talking about I will go further. So after that, all of the result I will saw there, the support base really impact on the tire. As you can see, this is also a type of threaded. So we can see there are lots of tire thread patterns in the world. So how we will make a one support base to test on the tire? So we will develop either support base for one support base for each and every tire, or we will make a new device or new base for the device to take test on the each and every tires. So this is our test topic, and thank you for all of you.
Do you experience some differences between clean or dirty tires?
Oh yes, the thing is that if the dirty tire, that means the intermolecular, the friction is less because there are no connection between the tires. Because if we are increasing the thread pattern, there are some already there are some already thread pattern which is like upper part of thread pattern is there are like destructive tires. So we can say like the stage already there are upper part of the tire is energy distribution very low that times.
Does the quality of the measurements are affected by the force that you use to press on the tire or not?
Yes, if we are forcing on the tire upper part, so we will distributing the temperature in each and every portion. So in cases I am talking about, if we are moving on the road, there are some forces at the portion, there are some little bit tip on the roads. That portion will affect on the tire performance because that portion is really help to make a traction between the roads.
And finally, did you compare also with maybe you see? Did you compare with the destructive test?
Prof, the thing is that is for my curiosity, I have tested non-destructive and destructive tests. So I have just taken a specimen and we will increase the tensile tested and we have tested from the ultrasonic sensors to check the movement of the device. Thank you all of you. Thank you.
Any further questions? No, we say thanks again.
Hello. Good afternoon, jury members and all my dear friends and colleagues. So, if everyone's ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, we're ready, please.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, once again. Today I'm here to present for my thesis topic of validation of integrated navigation solution based on Kalman type decoupled filter under Professor Rosario and Professor Giorgio De Angelis. So, as we know, the base of autonomous driving stands on three specific pillars, that is the driving policy, mapping and sensing. and 3 of them play a crucial part for autonomous driving. Here in the figure, I've just shown that how each of these grades of automation that we have in the standards stand for the trains. So grade of automation 1 to grade of automation 4, where 1 stands for a complete manual train, while the 4 stands for completely autonomous train, and 2 and 3 stands in between. So our thesis topic is based on navigation solution for these kind of vehicles, and it stands on between both of these pillars of driving policy and mapping. So as we go on further, inertial navigation equation framework. So this is the equation framework for the inertial navigation, that is through the inertial navigation sensors and each of these are into specific reference system of the vehicle or the perspective of navigation. These equations would also have switching conditions where you have to initialize the sensors at the beginning and then have a particular solution. So we'll start with inertial sensors. The 2 typical inertial sensors that we see all the time is the accelerometer and gyroscope, and each of them. So accelerometer has is used for measuring the specific force of the body, while gyroscope is used for the angular velocity. And MEMS-based inertial sensors have been used here. Moving on further, there are lots of errors in those platforms. Most of them are mentioned here. Due to these errors, the reading deviates from the original reading, and most of the time we have seen it correspondingly moving away of the value from the true value. Moving further, we have also used the odometer values, and the odometer works on the principle of encoding. So encoders are generally in trains are magnetic encoders, and they calculate the rotation and thus making the accurate velocity measurements from these encoding. Let's move further. Global navigation satellite system. So also the third pillar that I could call that we use to get the position, velocity, and attitude. Always we are interested in these 3 things: position, velocity, and attitude of the vehicle. So the satellite system that we used, GNSS is a collection of all the satellite systems that you know normally know, most of them listed here. And using this multiple satellites, for us being the user segment, that is the vehicles, we get the position, velocity, and attitude of those vehicles. And the control segment and the space segment help us achieve that. Moving on, standard point positioning. So the location is calculated by the system of 1 meter. So using this method, we get the position in an accuracy of 1 meter. Because of these challenging environments and dense forests, we have multi-path signaling effects, and for this we use this technique where we have multiple satellites that measure the distance of the satellite from the end user vehicle, and using the rate of change of distance of these, we can find the actual distance. But also GNSS are prone to errors, and they have lots of errors from the data. The signals are noisy, and most of them, the errors are listed here. And let's move on further. Since we know that each of the sensor or the data from that cannot be used standalone, we need a sensor fusion to enhance our accuracy, robustness, and redundancy. You can see that in this image, where you can see the update frequency, which is a positive point for the IMU and odometer is high, but it's prone to drift, while for the GPS or GNSS signals, the update frequency is low and the reading is noisy. This is a negative part, and this is also a negative part. But when we fuse all of them together, we get a very robust solution. So Kalman filter for tightly coupled Kalman filter. So Kalman filter is a general optimization algorithm that uses predict and update mechanism in order to get the optimized value of the states. We have multiple types of configuration of coupling all of these sensors together. Could be loose, tight, and ultra tight, but tight coupling is chosen because it's better than its counterparts, and it's a good trade-off between good navigational accuracy and less complexity. GNAV. So GNAV is an open source software by and it's available on MATLAB environment. And this software is a standard basic Lego block for navigation solution, where we can prepare our data, process our data, and then finally visualize. It has got multiple things inside, but we are only focused more to standard single positioning and using the INS GNS processors. So let us analyze our vehicle, that is our train. So as you see, the placement of navigation sensor is at the front of the vehicle. And moving on further, there is something called as lever arm compensation, where the navigation, there is a distance between the antenna and the GNSS receiver placed in the vehicle. So this could also lead to a lot of the errors, and we have to take into consideration for the accurate calculation. Also, the direction of motion of the train plays an important role, where we have to select the direction of movement. Since the sensor is placed on one side of the train, if it moves on the other way, we have to also change the axis in the local navigation frame. Moving on further. So the software solution, how we actually implement is this big list of files that we see here. These are the source files, or the main blocks which are used to configure the GNAV. And here we have the essential parts, where configuration file is used for correctly setting the files in the software solution. Then there is broadcast ephemeris that contains the satellite and clock data. And then there is rover observation file, where you can take the pseudo-range and pseudo-range rate measurements. Alright, selective configuration of GNAV. So this is the flow, this is the state chart, in the way we have set the GNAV, where we use also a subordinate file to configure it correctly. Then we execute position, we read input files, we adjust position, adjust navigation, and then go on further with processing. So in this processing, we have particularly this kind of state machine diagram, where we have to initialize the vehicle multiple times and align it in order to make the solution work, because train also stops at multiple places, and thus we need them. And then we go to the structure of experiments. The experimental testing, since we have set two tracks. First is the test and the reference track, where we check whether our solution is robust or not. Then we only use one GNSS, or we use GNSS odometric and inertial navigation sensors. Then we also have conducted tests for outages, where in a real possible case where the GNSS signals are lost while the train, and then we have a final Napoli-Caserta track that we have performed. So this is the reference track, where the train moves to and fro multiple times. In the top right corner, where you can see here, the train moves to and fro. The red color specifies the reference from an RTK-based navigation, which is centimeter-based accurate. Please keep this in mind. And the blue color represents our solution that we derived from the GNAV configuration. And you can see that on the reference track, it has completely overlapped itself, which is a very good solution, seems. Then we have possibly created outages. Outages means the GNSS sensor stops itself receiving data, and we create an error that is possible due to various effects like tunnels, when train enters the tunnels, or there are multipath errors in an urban zone. As you can see, the green dot represents the start of that outage. It's for 60 seconds, so at 600 seconds we create an outage, and at 660 we stop this outage. And you can see that this jagged line from our solution is created because of this deviation. And also that I would like to highlight that this solution is pretty good, because these are just meters away from the actual track. And then we finally implement this raw data on a Napoli-Caserta track. We receive the data for the train moving from Napoli to Caserta, and you have also seen that there are multiple tunnels where it goes through, but our reference solution, the solution compared to reference, lays quite pretty well overlap. and thus make it really reliable one. So we have meter level accuracy sufficient for automated train in suburban applications like Napoli to Caserta. The average shows the robustness of the derived solution, and a real test case scenario really proves its reliability. Thank you all of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, just a curiosity from myself.
Yes.
Which kind of common filter did you implement? Linear, nonlinear, extended?
Extended Kalman filter.
Extended common
Yes.
filter. And have you found some difficulties in merging the inertial measurements with the odometry coming from the balise? Which are the challenges that you have found?
The biggest challenge was for the extended Kalman filter was finding the QNR value, that is the measurement covariance and the process covariant noises. This has been a very big problem. Generally, the measurement covariance noises are listed in the sensor data sheet that has been presented in the thesis, but the process noise covariance is, it requires a little bit of tuning, and sometimes.
I Thank you.
We're running on freestyle.
No problem. Okay. Okay. Here we go.
Good afternoon to the commission members. Good afternoon to everybody. Myself, Salim Joseph, master student of autonomous vehicle engineering, here to defend my thesis title, Comprehensive Object Detection and Autonomous Control in NVIDIA Jet Tracer via ResNet 18 and Jetson Nano. So in the automobile industry, the introduction of autonomous vehicle has given a major turning point where the growing body of research on vehicle dynamics is thought to be the cause of industry's increasing growth. Furthermore, the development of advanced sensing devices such as LiDAR, camera, radar, and sonar gave a big boost to this industry. Here you could see the 5 levels of autonomicity starting from level 0 to level 5, where level 0 where the driver has full control of the vehicle, all the way to level 5 where the vehicle has performs all the driving tasks under all conditions. So our objective for this research is to create and develop a robust autonomous system where it is capable of avoiding collision and follow path in the given limited area. So I was able to achieve this goal starting by understanding the residual network. I used the ResNet 18 and then collection of data set and training and testing of the data set. And then with the help of PT controller, I was able to perform 2 scenarios. One is testing of the road following, and another one is testing of collision avoidance system. And then furthermore, I was able to observe the result. So here in this slide, you're able to see the software workflow which I worked on, starting from data collection, data pre-processing, neural network training and testing, model optimizing, and then observing the real-time result. So what is Jetson Nano and Jetson Developer Kit? So Jetson Nano and the Jetson Developer Kit is a small computer which is powerful enough to run multiple neural networks at the same time, like image classification, object detection, segmentation, speech processing, etc. The CPU, it is a quad-core ARM Cortex A57 CPU with the NVIDIA Maxwell GPU with 128 CUDA cores. It has total of 4 GB RAM with LPDDR4. So this is the Jet Tracer Pro AI kit on which the Jetson Nano and the Jetson Developer Kit was mounted on. This is like a miniature car. So if you could see the mechanical elements which this car has basically a miniature car of a life-sized one. It has all the four wheels, the differentials, oil-filled shocks, and on top of that, it has an 8 megapixel camera with 160-degree field of view wide angle. And I had used the LM393 speed sensor in order to check the speed and control the speed of the jet tracer. The LM393 sensor is an IR-based sender and a transmitting and receiver sensor. It transmits the infrared with the punch disc which is placed on the rear of the vehicle. And the mount for the sensor, it is provided by the NVIDIA company as well. So I use the convolutional neural network. The reason why I chose the convolutional neural network, it is capable of, it is highly effective for analyzing visual imagery. They have successfully applied in a variety of tasks such as image and video recognition. So for this research, I'll be using the ResNet architecture. So the ResNet architecture was primarily used for applications such as photo recognition. And since then, there are a lot of uses for ResNet 18. And the reason why we choose ResNet 18 is because it helps us to avoid back propagation, and we will be able to stabilize the model even further. So how did I collect the data set? So I was able to use a clickable widget where I was able to collect the photos of key points of the areas where I wanted the jet tracer to be following. So totally I had collected 750 images, and on the video you are able to see the count of the data sets which I have collected. So there are totally 3 windows. The first window is a live feed from the camera which is mounted on the Jet Tracer Pro AI kit. The second window with the green circle is the output of the image that we have selected. And the third window, it is the trained result with the help of Adam Optimizer, where we were able to see how well the model is trained. With the, as you can see, the loss is less than 0.002. I could say that the training of the dataset was significantly better, but I had validated once again throughout the track. So in the next slide, you will be able to see the track layout. I have taken the reference of the Indy 500 track. The key point to be noted is that this track has 4 left-hand turns. The left-hand turns is the key point. So this track was built in my house as a homemade track. So with the help of control dynamics of the vehicle, I was able to simulate the trajectory of the vehicle around the track as well. And then with the help of the PD controller, I was able to stabilize the jet tracer around this track and make the jet tracer follow the path which I intended to. So now let's see the scenarios. For this research topic, I had taken 2 scenarios. Scenario 1 is the testing of road following at various speeds. The speed conditions are 0.25 meter per second, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 and 0.6 meter per second. And a point to be noted is the maximum speed of the jet tracer is 6 meter per second. So in the next slide, you can see the video on the left hand side where at the speed of 0.25 meter per second, on the right side you are able to see the plots that has been plotted with the help of state space equation. So if you could see the red graph shows us the simulated or the measured lateral displacement, and the blue is the one that the jet tracer is intended to take. So furthermore, you could see that the jet tracer is traveling at the path which we wanted it to travel. So later, then I move to the next speed condition, that is 0.3 meter per second, and you don't see much of a difference at this speed as well, as it is closer to the simulated trajectory and the intended trajectory that the jet tracer is taking. So I move on to the next speed sector, which is 0.4 seconds. So here you could see that there's some variations in the plots. Earlier I had told you that the track has 4 left-handed curves, and the steering is normalized from -1 to 1. That is, -1 being extreme left and 1 being right. So if you see the plots, that it is going up to 0.5, which indicates that the jet tracer intends to take a right turn where it is not necessary. So in this scenario, I could say that the jet tracer is not stable enough for this speed, but I could not come to that conclusion because if you see the video, the jet tracer stays well in the limited area. So furthermore, I went on testing at 0.5 meter per second. So I get the same result. The jet tracer is going towards right as well, both in the simulated steering and the measured lateral displacement. In the curves, the jet tracer sees the track as a circular track instead of a rectangular track, as it makes a turn, it takes like a curve. So I wanted to test it at 0.6 to see whether how it behaves, and you could see that there are a lot of abnormalities in the plots. There are a lot of variation. The jet tracers keep on moving out of the limited area. So I could say that the jet tracer has reached its potential. I could also conclude that it has reached its potential not just because it is not capable, it could be capable, but just because of the dimensions of the tracks are smaller. Maybe that is the reason why jet tracer has reached the threshold of 0.6. Maybe with higher or a larger track dimensions, we could have tested the theory further. So with this, I come to the end of scenario 1, and then further I go to the scenario 2. So in scenario 2, I'll be using 2 sets of 3D printed traffic cones for the collision avoidance. So these cones will be kept at the various points of the track to see how well it is able to avoid these cones and avoid the obstacle, and we'll be able to see that in the plots. So if you're able to see the plots, you could see the shaded area is where the jet tracer sees the cone, and it's trying to take a different path in order to avoid the cone and stay within the limited area. So I further tested with 0.3 meter per second, and the result is the same. There are not much of a difference. It stays well within the limited area. There are cones which are being placed on the curves as well, and it is able to avoid the cone well within staying in the limited area. Furthermore, I go with 0.4 meter per second. Here, it was able to avoid the cones, but it has to go out of the limited area in order to get back into the track. So it is not stable for the given track dimension. So again, I could say that maybe the dimension of the track would be a major factor. So further, I could conclude that my goal was to see how well the jet tracer is performing under various conditions, where the conditions being the speed and the objects present at the different ends of the track. And I could say I have done a good job in able to stabilize the system. Maybe if there were some circumstances where I'll be able to give a better quality, maybe with the bigger track dimensions, maybe I could test the theory of higher speeds. The uses of jet tracer, the concept could be taken as a drone where the location and the objects are known already, like a food delivery drone or a packaging delivery drone. With this, I would like to conclude my presentation. I would like to thank my mentors, Professor Santini and Yellow from the company side, Federica and Enrico, for helping me out. I would like to thank my parents. They flew all the way from India, so thank you, my dear dad, my mom, I love you. I would like to thank all my friends and families who are present here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, God. Thanks to my girlfriend as well. Thank you. No, it was commercial. It was along with the jet tracer.
According to your opinion, the limitation force maximum speed which the tests have been carried out are related to the computational power of the jet Sandano. You think that if you carry out the same calculation on a more powerful device, it should operate at higher speed with reliable behavior?
Well, Prof, I would not test that theory because the dimensions of the track and the resources that I was provided was very limited. So, like you said, if I had a bigger space, maybe a bigger track, because the maximum speed of the jet tracer is 6 meters per second, and I was in the points just up to 0.6. So if I had a bigger track, maybe I could check the computational power whether it's capable of going to 6 meters per second.
And this is a problem of geometry.
Yes.
Rather than power.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
ಉಜ್ವಲ್ಟೆ ಕೇಕವ ಅದಂತ ಬೇರೆವಾ My fellow colleagues and guests, thank you for being here. My name is Ujjwal, and I'm here to present the thesis on development of autonomous collision avoidance system for generator using image recognition and ultrasonic sensing. So coming to the objectives, my primary objective here is to develop a fully functional autonomous navigation system. This involves programming the vehicle to navigate independently at various environments using real-time data without human interventions. A critical component of our navigation system is an advanced image recognition capabilities. By integrating the state-of-the-art convolution neural network, the system can analyze and interpret its surroundings. This allows the jet racer to identify and categorize the objects and also avoid collisions. To enhance my system, I have incorporated ultrasonic sensor. These sensors are crucial for close-range obstacles. They also provide precise measurements and that supplement our image recognition data, which becomes more robust for obstacle detection and collision avoidance under various conditions. Finally, I aim to demonstrate the effectiveness of the integrated system through two different scenarios that you can see in the upcoming slides as well. Coming to the problem analysis, the development of collision avoidance system is not only robust but also reliable at different operating conditions. Autonomous vehicles often struggle in confined spaces and complex environments, such as indoor spaces. Let's consider as an example parking space in the basements. Enhancing the navigation system here to function effectively in GPS-denied areas so that the vehicle is not completely dependent on GPS. So as I mentioned earlier, that I aim to develop a fully functional autonomous navigation system. In relevance to that, I also have to say that there are 6 levels of autonomous driving according to the SAE, where in the first 3 levels, the human monitors the driving environment, and the next 3 levels, automated system monitors the driving environment. Okay. Here you can see how a jet racer looks like and the couple of components that have been integrated into them. And also there are a list of mechanical parts that have been integrated to them. The most important one is the nano developer kit. It also comes along with an 8 megapixel 160-degree field of view camera. It also has a dual band Wi-Fi and a carbon brush motor. So here I want to say that this particular model of jet racer is used for high-speed computation level, and this particular carbon brush motor has an ideal speed of 15,000 RPM. So that's the reason it comes along with an electronic speed controller as well. It has a transmission with dual differentials, and it also has individual suspensions for each wheels. It has a front sponge for the safety of the vehicle, and a cooling fan, and rubber tires. So these are lists of components that are stated that come along with the jet racer. There are a couple of components that have been integrated separately. One of them is the speed sensor. The implementation of the speed sensor here, in this case, is to control the speed of the car dynamically. So the sensor itself consists of an LED infrared light and also a photo transistor, which is inside the black thermoplastic material, so that it resists only the LED light from the sensor, and the rest of the outside light can be ignored. So after that, we have an encoder in this, which you can see that has been highlighted here. So the purpose of encoder here is often used as a closed-loop system to provide real-time feedback for the speed. The other part is the ultrasonic sensor, which I had to use in front of the car in the later stages. So I had to place this in front of the car, so there was no particular space, so I had to develop a 3D printed model, which I mount in front of the car, and the final picture you can see how it has been mounted. And also there's a place for another distance sensor, which we can use it in further levels. There's one of the hardware that I have to talk about here is the NVIDIA nano developer kit. It's a very small AI computer as well. It has around 472 giga floating operations per second as well. This is widely used in deep learning, computer vision, and much more. And it also supports many AI frameworks such as Keras, PyTorch, Caffe, MX, etc. And this nano is capable of running multiple neural networks parallel. Okay. Coming to the frameworks for obstacle detection and navigation, one of the challenges that I had to work on is the classification of the data. So classification is a fundamental concept in machine learning where the goal is to categorize the data into predefined classes or categories. So I overcome this by labeling the images as free and block. The classification plays a critical role in enabling the autonomous system to make the informed decisions about the path planning and also obstacle avoidance. The second challenge is to the selection of the neural network. So here, CNNs are specialized deep learning models that are particularly effective for analyzing visual imagery. They automatically detect important features without any human supervisions. And also I have to mention here, the choosing of the right optimizer and the learning rate is appropriate. That provides a foundation to effective training deep learning models as well, which affects both the speed and the accuracy of the system. So I have used ResNet 18. Why did I use ResNet 18? Because of the computational efficiency as a priority in real-time image classification. The total number and also the total number of images was less in my case, and training the model from scratch is not feasible in my case. ResNet 18 has 17 convolutional layers and one fully connected layer. It also introduces a skip connection that can improve the performance in several ways, such as solving the vanishing gradient problem and also overfitting. Coming to the methodology, here you can see that I have created widgets so that it would make my process easier for collection of the datasets, and I can categorize the images as free and block. On the right side of the screen, you can see the real-time image where I have captured the data into free and block categories. Coming to the training results, I made use of the adaptive momentum optimizer, where the total of 395 images across 8 batches for 30 epochs. This also demonstrates the accuracy levels predominantly ranging from 0.9 to 0.98 and also peaking at 1. Also made use of the HDD optimizer, but I was not satisfied with the results. Here you can see a real-time video where you can see the slider on the right side of the screen. As the car moves towards the block or a block dataset, it highlights as block, and when it's in the free space, it comes back to 0, which means free in my case. So as the car moves towards the block space, the slider automatically moves, providing the information that the space is blocked. Coming to the longitudinal lateral controller, the basic motion of the jet racer here is described by the equation y, where it represents the velocity of the jet racer, and x is a variable dependent on input parameters such as rotor positions. This equation helps us in predicting the jet racer speed based on the given inputs. This formula provides a foundational model for understanding how the change in the input affect the jet racer speed. And also note that the jet racer, the throttle commands are normalized between the range of -1 to 1, minus the negative values take care of the backward movement, and the positive values take care of the forward movement, which are implemented in the further case. And also you can see the steering of the jet racer is controlled by the below equation, which says y is equal to ax plus b, where a and b are steering gain and steering offset respectively, which have taken the default value that has been given in the basic motion of the jet racer, and x is the steering value that has been set in my case. Coming to the PI controller, uses the speed from the sensor data to continuously adjust the jet racer's throttle, and also based on the error derived from the difference between the motion model and the actual speed from the speed sensor. This controller modifies the total output, and all these things happens in a closed loop on continuous basis, so that it keeps on updating the speed. This synergy ensures that the jet racer maintains optimal performance by aligning actual speed with the predicted speed of the motion model. Okay, here you can see the representation of a layout where I have created using a tape, so that the jet racer performs inside the space, and also note the arrow doesn't indicate the predefined path, but I have just selected the car always turns left. Coming to scenario 1, display a small video where after the training has been done, so after this it completely avoids the obstacles. In my case it's the boundary, and it completes a circuit where it completely avoids the blocked paths. And on the right side of the screen, you can see the trajectory where the jet tracer has followed. So the video. Coming to scenario 2, I have made use of the ultrasonic sensor for more robust collision avoidance. It consists of the ultrasonic sensor consists of a transmitter and a receiver. It sends a sound wave at a frequency above the range of the human hearing. So this addition provides a real-time data by the sensor, by the jet tracer to make adjustments for the collision avoidance. I made use of the basic formula for the calculation of the distance and made use of the standard speed of sound value. So what I had to do here is I had to create a code where I had to flash it into the microcontroller. I had to create a code for measuring the distance and speed. So this distance and speed sensor communicate with the microcontroller that has been calculated, and the final values then are communicated to the jets and nano using a serial communication. Once the integration is completed, here you can see the physical distance measurement and the real-time output from the sensor. On the left side of the screen, you can see the distance that has been measured by using the ruler from the sensor. It is close to 23 centimeters, and the real-time output from the sensor, it is close to accurate, providing 23 centimeters. Here you can see the jet tracer after implementation of the ultrasonic sensor. It stops where it finds an obstacle and performs the backward maneuver. And once it is at the safe distance so that it can avoid the obstacle, it continues to move forward. On the right side of the screen, you can see the trajectory of it, and also the blue line indicates at what point the jet tracer has performed its backward maneuver. So here, it takes some time from initializing the backward movement as well, because this is because of the behavior of the electronic speed controller, because it can't continuously change all of a sudden from the forward movement to the backward movement. This is because the behavior of the electronic speed controller. Concluding this, system has shown a proficiency in identifying and navigating around obstacles in varying environments, and also the result demonstrates significant improvements in navigating accuracy and obstacle avoidance. For the future implementation, future we could explore integration of additional sensors that modulates such as LIDAR and infrared to further enhance the vehicle's environment perception and also for diverse operational conditions. There is also a scope for experiment with other deep learning models so that it can reduce the computational time and also improve the accuracy. And also we can try to move this to the real world testing and scalability by implementing other sensors, because I don't think the camera would work in the full scale model because of the environment such as fog or rainy conditions. And also, as I said, adaptation for different environments. Thank you. This work has been guided by the invaluable support of my advisor, Professor Santini, engineer Enrico, Aniello, and also Federica. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, questions?
The question, what's the energy autonomy of the system, and if the ultrasonic affects the energy consumption?
Energy consumption, there is also a battery provider inside the jet tracer. Battery provider inside the jet tracer. The more energy consumption is more while we are training the model, but not during the not with the ultrasonic sensor. And also, it takes some time, and also there is particular set point speed that has been set. At that particular set point, it works really well, but at more speed that has been given into it, since because of the ultrasonic sensor, the object detection or from the ultrasonic sensor becomes a bit late, let's say, if the car has bit more objects.